and welcome to my channel. My name is Ann, and this is Postcards from My Golden Years. I'm so happy to see you today. Well, I'm always happy to see you, but time for another video. So by the time you're watching this, I will have turned the ripe old, emphasis on old, the ripe old age of 70 years old. My husband tried to convince me to think of it more in terms of the 49th anniversary of my 21st birthday. And so I started with, yeah, okay, all right, that sounds fun, yeah. But when I started realizing, well, not realizing, I mean, I knew, but when I started thinking about the fact that, forget all of the code for it, I'm really turning 70, or by this time that you're watching, I just turned 70. That's pretty old. I mean, the older I get, it doesn't seem so old, because mentally and physically, I don't feel like I'm 20 years older than I was 20 years ago. Mentally, turning 70 just seems like a big deal, a really big deal. But when I consider the alternative, I'm happy to be turning 70. I'm happy to be on this side of the ground. But still, for me, I've really been sort of, I don't want to say stressing about it, but it has caused me to do an awful lot of thinking and almost worrying. And when I was a kid, I never thought I would ever turn 70. I mean, not that I didn't think I was going to reach 70, but the last thing I ever thought about when I was a teenager was 70. I had my whole life in front of me. And back in those days, it was more of, well, what do you want to do with your life? So when I was a teenager, my father said to me, what do you want to be when you get out of high school? What do you want to do? And I didn't really know. And he used to call me the dabbler, because I would start things and I wouldn't finish them. And I'd say, I want to do this, I want to do that. And then I'd do it for a little while and then I'd stop doing it. I was doing a lot of artistic things. And he said, I think you'd make a really great artist. And so what he did was he turned our attic into an artist studio. And he bought me an easel and a table and a whole collection of oils to do oil paintings. And he bought me charcoal to do charcoal drawings and pencils to do pencil drawings. And he said, here, go in there and see what you like doing. See if you want to become an artist. Maybe that's what you want to do. So the one thing that my father said to me when I was a teenager is, you know what? You can do anything you want with your life. You can be anybody you want to be. If you want it badly enough, just do whatever you want. You can make all your dreams come true. And if you don't make them come true, you didn't want them badly enough. He said the one thing that I don't want for you is I don't want you to find something to do with your life where you're dependent upon a man to take care of you. I want you to find something to do with your life that will enable you to take care of yourself forever. Never put yourself in a position to ever be dependent on a man. That's what he said to me back then when I was just a teenager. My mother, she had a different plan for me. My mother said, you know, when you get out of high school, you'll find a nice man or a nice boy.
Jewish boy.
She said, you'll find a nice Jewish boy. And you'll settle down and you'll have a beautiful house and beautiful children. And she had this whole white picket fence dream for me. And so as I was growing up, she taught me to be a good cook how to do the laundry and how to clean. And she said, you have to be a good wife. You have to take care of your husband. You find a man to love and you take good care of your husband. That was my mother's dream for me. That's all she wanted. That was my mother's dream for me. It was just enough for her that I find a nice Jewish boy to marry, preferably a doctor or a lawyer, somebody who makes a lot of money. Well, one of those things came true, Mom. And I have the beautiful house and beautiful children and make her a grandmother. So, I turned 21 and that was fun. That was a great thing. I was real happy to turn 21 because then I could drink legally. I mean, fortunately my parents aren't around anymore, but I had been drinking for a few years before that, not legally. So 21 just made it easier. I didn't have to walk around with fake identification to get into those bars up in Pennsylvania and New Jersey. First time that I really felt strongly about turning a milestone age was when I hit 30. When I hit 30, I was a mother of a 4-year-old little boy, a mentally challenged 4-year-old little boy. We had determined by that point that he was mentally challenged. I was working because we couldn't afford to have the lifestyle that we had without both my ex-husband and I working. So I was out there in the world, and I had secretarial jobs. I mean, when I went to college, my big plan was that I was going to become an interpreter for the United Nations. And so I studied French for 8 years, and I took Spanish for 2 years, and I thought, well, this is it. This is what I'm going to do. And life took me in a different direction. It didn't go in that direction. And when I turned 30, I was going to college at night, changing my major about, every year or 6 months or whatever, still working my way through college. But I reached the age of 30, and I realized that here I was 30 years old, and I didn't know what I was going to do with the rest of my life. And I sort of panicked. It was like, oh my God, I'm 30 years old. What am I going to do? I sort of, wasted away with all the continual course changes in college because I couldn't make up my mind. Did I like business? Did I like advertising? Did I like promotions, public relations? What did I want to do? It was a little bit of a mental frustration because I almost felt embarrassed that all around me, everybody that I had gone to high school with, well, they were already set in their careers. And here I was, a young mother still at that age, and I wanted to do something with my life. And eventually, I just sort of answered an ad in the newspaper, working for a company in the Human Resources Department. And that started a whole long 25-plus year career in human resources management, the last 10 of which were as a vice president at an advertising and promotions agency in Philadelphia.
Hello, I'd like to introduce myself. I'm the United Way lady. You may have seen my picture in the hallways recently. Woo, great likeness, don't you think? I'm here today to tell you all about the fabulous prizes you may be eligible to win if you contribute to the United Way by Friday, October 11th. In our meeting today, you've heard all about the United Way and how it benefits the local community. And all you need to do is fill out a simple form and hand it to your United Way committee representative. And now, I'd like to give you a glimpse of what the first, second, and third place winners will receive. Have you ever dreamed of becoming one of the beautiful people like me? Beauty, glamour, sophistication, and poise?
I got to the point in that job where I was earning more money than I had ever earned in my life. I was earning more money than my ex-husband was earning. I was earning a lot more money than a lot of my friends who had their careers long before I found mine. And one day, there I was, top of the world, and I decided to start chasing dreams. I figured, still young, I want to chase those dreams before I get really old and too old to chase them. So I wanted to see things, I wanted to do things, I wanted to travel. I wanted to have a restaurant, a little French restaurant that would be my whole French world. I mean, after studying French for 8 years, I was sort of a frustrated French person inside. I wanted to do something with that language. So my dream, after having this very successful career in human resources, my dream was to have this beautiful, charming little French restaurant in the countryside of Bucks County, Pennsylvania. And so while I was still working at that advertising agency, I was quietly working on a business plan. And ultimately, I brought this dream to life. It was the first big dream that I had brought to life. Other minor dreams, like, to travel to France, and, my ex-husband and I fulfilled that dream back when we were married 20 years. And I had other dreams to have a nice house and be healthy and happy and have nice clothes and, all of those things. Yeah, I agree. Some of it's a little materialistic, but having grown up in a family situation where we weren't wealthy, we were a middle-class family that lived, as I am assuming, from paycheck to paycheck. I mean, I never had a conversation with my parents about our finances, but I can remember back when I was in high school and I had been recommended to go and have a semester in France and study at the Sorbonne, and I went to my parents and they had said to me, "No, you can't do that. No, you can't do it. We're not going to let you go to a foreign country all by yourself," ignoring the fact that there were probably people from the high school or the program that were going to be there sort of as our chaperones and things like that. Years later, when I thought about it, I realized that the reason that they didn't let me chase that little dream of spending a semester in France was that they really couldn't afford it. And I can remember times when they would tell us kids, if a creditor called on the phone, tell them your parents are on vacation, tell them you're away, tell them we're not home, don't answer the phone, all of those things. So we didn't grow up having the best of everything. When I got to the point that I could afford to have the best of everything, I started taking little bites of the best of everything. And I have never really lived this ultra luxurious lifestyle, but I've been able to fulfill just about every single dream I ever had. I've been able to buy pretty much everything I ever wanted within reason. I mean, let's not get crazy. I wasn't able to buy a $200,000 car. I couldn't buy the bazillion-dollar yacht, but these weren't really my dreams. My dreams were just to be happy, travel as much as I could, see the world, do as much as I could, have a wonderful husband and a happy life and a happy child, and I had all of those things. Then when I turned 40 was sort of a no-brainer. I had gotten over the hump, over the little crisis of turning 30 and still not knowing what I wanted to do when I grew up. And so 40, I sort of breezed through 40. When it got to 50, well, 50 was another story. That was a big number too, 50. I wasn't quite sure whether I was upset about it or not, but I just sort of dealt with it. It was, okay, I'm 50. When I turned 60, I was alone. I was between marriages. I was living alone. Most of my close friends were parts of a couple, and those friends sort of sided with the ex-husband, and so I lost those friends, and I guess you could say they probably weren't really good friends, because if they were really my good friends, they would have stuck by me, but that's another story for another video. Anyway, so when I turned 60, it was sort of a real crisis for me, because there I was living alone. By that time, my mother was in a nursing home. She didn't even remember it was my birthday. I had nothing to do on my birthday the year I turned 60. And so I went to visit my mother at the nursing home. And she never said happy birthday. And I think that was the first time she didn't say happy birthday. It was the first time I didn't get a birthday card from her. I think that affected me more than anything else. Here I was turning 60, and she would have been the only one who would have remembered to wish me a happy birthday. And there I was in front of her on my birthday. And I said to her, "Mom, today's my birthday. I turned 60. And her response was, "Oh, that's nice, Anne." And then she went on to some other subject. So on my 60th birthday, there was no birthday cake. Well, I should back up a step. For most of my adult life, I never had a birthday cake, because I never had husbands who went to the trouble of buying me a birthday cake. I had never had a birthday party, an adult birthday party to celebrate my birthday. I mean, family may have come to visit, but it wasn't a party. Maybe family came for dinner or something. So until I met my current husband, I had never had a birthday party as an adult. 60 was really an upsetting time for me when I turned 60. It was probably the worst birthday that I can ever remember, because I felt alone and isolated, and I was going through a serious depression following my last marriage. So I had a hard time with turning 60, but mostly it was because of the circumstances of my life at that particular time. So as I traveled through my 60s leading up to my 70s, last year I got my very first birthday cake. That was pretty cool. I mean, we were out someplace on my birthday. We were at a local bar that we go to, and my husband surprised me with a cake from the bakery that had made our wedding cake about 8 years before. And it was this very thick chocolate layer cake, deep dark chocolate with chocolate fudge in the middle and chocolate icing, and it was everything that I wanted. And he surprised me because I had said to him when we first met, almost 10 years ago, I said I never had a birthday cake with my name on it, like at a celebration. I mean, at work, when I used to work, yeah, people would bring in a cake or somebody would buy a cake and invite me into a conference room, but it wasn't like a full-blown birthday celebration. So last year was the big surprise with the birthday cake. So one of the things that hit me when I realized I'm turning 70 is, that's not so far away from 80. And that's not so far away from 90. And I started thinking, how many relatives do I know that live to be older than 85, 90? Not a lot. On my father's side, my grandmother died at age 73. My dad passed away at age 62. His sister and brother, they passed away in their 70s. My mother was 89. My grandparents were in their late 80s. And I started thinking, 70, wow, that's like, if I live to be as old as my mother, that's only 19 years away. And it sort of like brings this feeling of gloom, like, wow, it's like telling you, you only have 19 more years maybe. Maybe you don't have that many. I mean, it's something to think about. Fortunately, I have a cousin. It's my father's first cousin. And this lady is so inspiring. She's my cousin Audrey. Audrey, I hope you watch my videos. I know your daughter does. But this lady, she gives me hope. This lady is in her 90s. She's a stand-up comedian. She lives at some real nice independent living place over on the other coast of Florida. She dresses up. She's fun. She's beautiful. This is the lady that I want to take after. She just seems like she's going to live forever. And so I've told her on a few occasions, I hope I inherited the same genes that you inherited. How many more years do I have left? There's so much I still want to do. And will I live long enough to do it? I've never had these feelings before. Dying was something that was just so far off. I never thought about it in my teens for sure. When my dad asked me what I wanted to do with my life, I never thought about it in my 20s, my 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. Even when my dad passed away in his 60s, it never occurred to me that, my dad passed away in his 60s. That could be me too. I never gave it a thought. And especially when I passed the age of 62, I have to admit, there was a silent little sigh of relief. I made it past 62. I'm doing good. Now, my next goal is I've got to make it past 89. And then I'll be able to say, okay, I made it past 89. And my cousin Audrey, she is still kicking. And I want to be there for at least as long as Audrey, so that I can breathe that sigh of relief and go, I live to be as old as Audrey. Because I hope that when I'm that old, she's still around kicking, even if she's way over 100. I know it's just a number. I know I feel just like I did 10 years ago when I turned 60 and I was all, well, I shouldn't say that. I don't feel like I did when I turned 60 10 years ago, because that was a very depressing, terrible, lonely time for me. But I feel good. And some say I even look good. A lot of people don't believe I'm turning 70. And I love you all for thinking that, but Trust me, I know where all the lines and creases are. Thank you, Chanel, for helping me with that. One thing I've noticed is in the years between turning 60 and 70, a few more aches and pains, unusual osises. I went to the doctor last week for a physical, and I said, "Doctor, when I'm sitting on the couch watching television, and my dog wants to go out, she comes over and she starts bugging me and whining that she wants me to take her out. It only happens at those moments. And so I stand up and I go to take her out, and the bottoms of my feet hurt." And I said, "What is that?" And he gave me the name of something that ended in an osis. And it seems like every time I go to my doctor and I tell him, "Doctor, I have this happening to me," and he'll say, "Oh, that's a blah, blah, blah osis." Or, "I've got this happening." "Oh, that's an blah, blah, blah osis." And basically he said, "You know what, you get older and these things happen." So hopefully I don't get any more osises. So I used to read books when I was younger, and it would talk about the old crones, the women who had gone through menopause, and they were wise women. And they were the women that young women would look to for advice and counsel. And I started thinking, has anybody ever come to me for advice and counsel? And I thought, well, not in my personal life. I mean, on my YouTube channel, I've gotten questions and things. You know, when I put out a video about sex after 60 or 65, which, by the way, turns out is my very, very most popular video in history, with like 150 or 60,000 views. Those are the people who will post comments asking me for advice. So, but I thought that young women would come to me and they would say, "Well, what should I do about this? And what should I do about that? And what does the wise old crone say is the answer to this problem or this question?" Or I don't know. I have not had anybody come to me. I guess maybe I'm not an old enough crone. So I don't know whether any of you have experienced the same feelings when you turned 70 or some other milestone birthday. I just find it very, I don't know what the word for it is, but I find myself thinking about all the things I have to do and how little time is left to do those things. I don't want to be turning 70 because I feel like that means, you know, the clock is getting to midnight. For years, since I met my husband, Jeff, birthdays, I've always tried to plan to go someplace, go away on my birthday, because it bothered me. I never got to celebrate my birthday, having a party. So I would say that I wanted to go away somewhere, go away for the weekend, go away on vacation. So we would plan vacations around my birthday, as I wanted to avoid being at home, having to deal with the reality that there was probably not going to be any birthday cake, and there probably wouldn't be any kind of birthday party. And that's what I did. So this year, I thought about doing the same thing. Jeff started asking me you want to go away for your birthday? You know, we could fly here, we could fly there, find out what it costs to go here. I thought about going to South Beach for the weekend. All of these things sounded wonderful. However, we're moving to France next year, and I didn't want to like take a big chunk of money out of our savings account. And I said to him, you know, for my entire adult life, I have made everybody birthday parties. My son, my husband's, boyfriends. I made birthday parties. I went to the trouble for everybody else to make their birthday really festive and celebratory. And it's never happened to me. And so I said to him, this year, I want it to be about me. I want to have a birthday party. I want it to be my very first grown-up adult birthday party. When I turn 70, I want to invite our friends. I want it to be someplace fun, not posh and stuffy. I want to have a cake. I want it to have my name on it. I want there to be gold tablecloths and glitzy table decorations. And I want it to be fun. So he said, well, sure, absolutely. Of course, but you know, my husband is so easygoing. I probably could have said this, I don't know, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, or the year after we got married. I probably could have said this and he would have done anything for me, because that's the way he is. He's very loving and very generous. And so this year is the first year. When I'm turning 70, this is the year that I am finally, by the time you see this, I will have finally had my first birthday party. Gosh, I hope by the time you see this, at the party everybody showed up and it all went well. But I will have had my very first birthday party with balloons and all the bling that I want on the tables, even though it's a fun bar, a local bar. But I'm going to have the people that we consider our friends. Well, some of them, unfortunately, aren't going to be around. And, you know, friends who aren't going to be around, you know who you are. And I missed you at the party. But we'll catch up another time. Anyway, I'm excited about this. And it's sort of, it takes the edge off of turning 70. I'm doing this in case I forget to say it. On Friday night when I had my big party, I want to thank my husband for making this the most wonderful grown-up adult birthday party I have ever had in my entire adult life. I love you. Thank you. This has been the absolute best birthday ever. So thank you so much for watching this video. I hope I didn't depress any of you. I felt like I just wanted to talk about turning 70 and how I feel about it. And a big deal, turning 70. Thank you again for watching the video. If you're not a subscriber to my channel, please click below, consider subscribing. If you're not familiar with Patreon and you'd like to support my channel, go to patreon.com and search for Postcards from My Golden Years, all squished together. The address is down below the video. And don't forget to give me a thumbs up. It helps my channel. It tells YouTube that, you know, this was a good video. So if you like this video, you might like some of these that I have done in the past. So check them out.